lane to try and get some penetration offensively. And defensively, that always puts you in a little bit of a tough spot. They have some bigger guards, and they went in there the one time. I thought Sammy played pretty good position D, but got called for the foul. But then he made the nice play over the top, and then that's why we adjusted and put a heel in, because they were trying to isolate that. As far as the three he hit, I'll have to take a look at it. It looked like a pretty tough shot, and we were trying to close on him. And it was, that was a dagger, certainly.
It seemed like they were doing a good job of double teaming Mike, and it looked like some great shots. But just cold shooting tonight, would you say, Coach, from your team?
That might be an understatement, but I told Rich as we're walking here, it was the hat trick. We struggled to shoot the ball. We struggled from three, struggled from the free throw line, and even missed some layups, when we got to the rim. So, I told our guys, what else can you do but take those? And they showed tremendous heart trying to get back into the game and fight. And even with all that cold shooting, there were still opportunities to have a chance to win this game, but we didn't. And it's when you look at it statistically, that's obvious that it's hard to be successful when shots aren't dropping. And most of them, I think, were good. I'll watch the tape, but I think they were pretty good ones. Some uncharacteristic or some turnovers that hurt us too late in the game.
It seemed like until Mike got the dunk late on the break, that you weren't capitalizing off your steals, maybe not making the extra pass.
Right. Yeah, again, a couple times we had some transition buckets, and we missed maybe. I don't know if there was a pass behind. One time I think there was a pass behind, but usually we finish those and we come hard, but we didn't, on a nice defensive possession, didn't, like you said, capitalize and get a transition bucket, because when you're struggling to shoot, you've got to find ways. We always say X factor points, and that's for us, offensive rebound, putbacks, getting to the line, or maybe some transition buckets, and there were a few, as we say, we left on the table, or some points that we left on the table, and that certainly cost us. But they did a heck of a job. They played hard, they battled, so it was a physical game. It wasn't obviously the most smooth or offensively executed or sound game, but it was hard fought.
Steve, and then Whitey.
You mentioned the switch to the four-guard lineup. Was that a look that you think you just needed for tonight to get back in it, or do you anticipate maybe going with that?
We'll see. Eddie was hurting us at the end of that run they had at the end of the first half. I think he had they scored on 4 possessions in a row, and he made some tough shots. He did, but he is a tough matchup. He's really like a guard in terms of offensively how he plays. So we thought, okay, there's a matchup there, and we opened the lane up and we went to it. Again, it just depends. We still have to try to adjust without Hassan. We have to take a look at those things, and with our scoring drought, so at least we can get to the line and create some offense with spacing, and I thought it was pretty effective for the most part.
Yeah,
Whitey, then Michael.
Just in that same kind of vein, Tony, with Joe having to play more at the 4 spot there, does that take away from some of his effectiveness, or what his strengths are?
Yeah, depending upon what we do offensively, I think we can still use him in certain ways. He did that last year, but again, sometimes your hand is forced. We're a little limited with our numbers, so we have to kind of figure out what's best. And I thought we need some guys to score in that spot, and that's why we slipped before. And the matchups were okay for the most part, again, because of Eddie and Hudson. Like I said, he made the plays, he showed his experience, and it was the difference down the stretch.
Michael, then Doug.
Do you feel Sammy trying to press at all? Is there anything you can do to help him out?
Yeah, the one thing you guys don't know, Sammy, he got, after our Georgia Tech game, he was sick. He had a couple IVs put in him. He was, throwing up. He caught a flu bug, so he didn't practice on whatever what day Friday. Friday. Yeah, so Friday he didn't practice. Practice limited yesterday, but he gave everything he had, and I just don't think he had quite the steam or the lead in his pencil maybe that he needed. So I think that had an effect on him. But again, he got some good looks, and they didn't go down. But as a shooter, you got to shoot when they're there, as long as you're not forcing.
Mike got 2 shots in the second half. To what do you attribute that?
They really sandwiched him, and I thought he found some people as we were cutting off of him. And again, we got to keep going to him, but he really is drawing a ton of attention. And when that happens, then it's got to be, the next pass he can't. It's hard to shoot over a double team or when someone's in front and behind, we have to capitalize on.
And you had 4 assists as a team.
Yeah, that's low. But some of that also was drawn, kicking, and guys missing shots. I think there would have been a few more, and we also tried to penetrate a little more to open up and get aggressive that way. But when you shoot that poorly, your assists are really going to be low.
Please wait for the microphone. Michael, and then Jeff.
You talked after the Georgia Tech game about how during practice you said not focusing on the ranking, that kind of thing. Do you feel like the loss maybe kind of resets that a little bit for you?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, we played, we played well offensively against Georgia Tech. We were moving, and then we struggled, and that's why I said, your defense held you in there. But you've got to take each game as a separate entity. You've got to be ready to play, and you don't know what the game's going to bring. I mentioned, I think certainly when you're playing well, you want to keep it going. And this is a tough loss, but it's a loss. I said it's always what you do after that loss. We have to take tomorrow off. We regroup. We learn from it, and hopefully come out. We're more efficient offensively and continue to battle defensively like we need to.
Jeff.
Yeah, Tony, John Tell ended up taking 12 shots,
Right.
most of anybody in the game. Do you
Right.
feel like most of those were good looks, or was he trying to do some things that...
A couple times he might have got in there. I mean, he had some right at the rim, even his last one. Again, the way they were playing him, he created a lot of offense for us with his defense, but I think his aggressiveness was not a bad thing. Maybe there were a couple that he could have, you say, well, he had 3 turnovers and 0 assists. I thought he created some nice shots for guys, but, I think each game dictates, all right, how teams play, who's going to get shots or not, and certainly we got to keep looking to Mike, but it was cold. When you look at the stat sheet, Sammy was 0 for 7, and, Joe battled. He actually scored a little more on as the 4 than he did as the perimeter. But again, John Tell at least was good getting in the lane, and for the most part, I think made good decisions.
Last question to Mark Furman.
Tony, how much of that was, your offensive performance was just bad offense by you guys? How much is it was Tech's defense, taking
I think
away or that?
they did a good job defensively. I think, they took away some of our strengths, and they made us, all right, we're going to make you beat us in other ways. And again, we got some good looks, but they were physical. They're a good defensive team, and they came up with some tough stops and made it hard. I think it was a combination, certainly, of both.
Thank you.